Right, so Israel are not only very much still in southern Syria, but they've now begun seizing even more territory there, eliciting panic amongst further Syrian villages in the path of the IDF. But they are also doing so on the weakest and most hypocritical basis. Excuses, frankly, that nobody is going to accept from Israel, of all places. Where Syria's President Ahmed Al-Sharaa has been engaging on flesh-pressing exercises around the Middle East, he is, it seems, still resolutely refusing to engage with Israel as an invader and an enemy, beyond telling them to get out of my land and them flatly ignoring him. For as long as Al-Sharaa thinks he can still be friends with Israel, the more Israel will apparently keep taking more and more Syrian countryside. Because if they can get away with the excuse they're using now, there will be no stopping them going as far as they care to. Right, so Syria and the Israeli incursion into southern areas of their country. The Al-Wada Dam has been taken, the Yarmouk River Basin is under Israeli control, which supplies much water to both Syria and Jordan. Building on the areas Israeli already occupy of Syria, such as the Golan Heights, held since 1967, and of course Mount Hermon as well, the highest peak on the Lebanon-Syria border. But as of Sunday, they moved to take even more territory, having now moved into the village of Ain al-Noria to the northwest of Quneitra in the province of the same name, which was all part of the demilitarized zone which separated the already Israeli-occupied Golan Heights from the rest of Syria, and an area patrolled by the UN agency UNDOF, the United Nations Disengagement Observer Force, the Syrian equivalent to the better-known Lebanese equivalent UNIFIL. What reason did Israel have to do this time then? What was their excuse for continuing to lay siege and seize even more Syrian territory? Oh, it's a beauty. On one hand, they are still claiming to be targeting munitions stores and weapons caches in Syria that they don't want the new government of Al-Qaeda leftovers to gain access to. So much for diplomatic relations and making friends. But then who'd want to be friends with a government made of terrorists on one hand? But their other reason for advancement is because they have grave concerns, you understand, that minority groups in Syria face persecution at the hands of the new Syrian authorities. Yes, Israel, the very same Israel that has occupied Gaza and the West Bank and enacted decades of apartheid and persecution and illegal settlement and now genocide, of course, upon people they see as inhuman, as monsters, as second-class people. Well, apparently, when it comes to Syria, they've got concerns for the safety of minorities. And that is why, apparently, they're now determined to stay there. Cue much mirth and laughter. I know none of us are finding it funny, though. Please resist the urge to sling a slipper at the TV or lob your laptop at the cat. But whether you laugh or swear at hearing this, and I believe me, I did both, this is now Israel's justification for staying put and seemingly carrying on grabbing more land in Syria. Are they doing any such thing really there, though? Well, what do you think? Lebanese news outlet Al Mayadeen have spoken to people in the affected area, and they've given a much blunter picture of the situation. 2 days ago, the people of the village of Al-Muwallaka in the Quneitra Governorate in southern Syria confirmed their refusal to receive any aid coming from the Israeli occupation forces, stressing that they do not need aid coming from a party that occupies their land. The village mayor, Kader Obaida, told the Turkish Anadolu agency that the occupation soldiers enter and exit the village more than 10 times a day, searching homes and spreading terror amongst women and children. Days ago, the American newspaper The Washington Post indicated in a report it published that the Israeli army is building military settlement sites in a series of Syrian villages that it occupied after the fall of the former Syrian regime in December 2024. So the people in the areas Israel is now seizing are refusing aid from illegal occupiers. The IDF are doing their usual favourite pastime of terrorising kids and women, the only targets they frankly are brave enough to stand up to. According to Iraqi news agency Shafak, the IDF have also wrecked vehicles and motorcycles, seized computers and set fire to them, taken over the Quneitra courthouse and burned official documents, and a whole lot more besides. Most moral army, my left butt cheek. They're vandals and thugs, not interested in protecting minorities at all, but actively persecuting them, as Israel always does, as they are accusing the new Syrian government of doing. And the reality on the ground besides that conduct is that they are simply building more and more military outposts without any plan or desire to ever leave. Al Mayadeen cited the Washington Post in that excerpt a minute ago. So what did they actually have to say about these constructions then? They are building military bases. How is that temporary? Asked Mohammed Muraiwid, the mayor of Jubata al-Kashab, who has now watched Israeli troops construct a new military outpost on the edge of his village. Satellite imagery examined by the Washington Post shows more than half a dozen structures and vehicles in the walled Israeli base with nearly identical construction 5 miles to the south. Both are linked by new dirt roads to territory in the Golan Heights that Israel captured in its 1967 war with its Arab neighbours. An area of cleared land, which experts say appears to be the beginnings of a third base, is visible another few miles south. The locations of the bases have helpfully been put on a map by the Washington Post. So what exactly is this supposed new government of Syria going to do about this increasing Israeli problem of theirs then? Your own people are getting persecuted. What are you going to do to help them? Well, playing into Israel's hands is the fact that the new Syrian administration very much has been persecuting minorities itself, notably the Alawite and Christian populations, but not exclusively so, and not particularly in this area either. And with Israel has been making ground in the south, HTS forces instead are prepared to attack Lebanon's border regions and the villages there. The justification of that? Lebanon is still a problem for them, because that is where Hezbollah are. And the thinking of the new Syrian government is that Israel's only justification for being in their land is because of Iran, and their use of Syria as a route through to their Hezbollah proxies, as they are always referred to. Never mind Israel is building military bases on Syrian land, Al-Sharaa still seems to think that if he can placate them by cutting Iran off, and this is borne out by this further excerpt from the Washington Post containing a response from Syria's new defence minister. In an interview with the Post on Sunday, Syrian Defence Minister Mirhaf Abu Kasra described the Israeli advance as a violation against the Syrian people. This incursion is unjustified, he said, adding that the Iranian threat at the heart of Israeli concerns over Syria no longer exists. They had a problem with Iran. We saved them from Iran. Yeah, did you though? Israel had their plants in the Syrian regime of Assad that told them where possible about equipment, aid or whatever making its way from Iran to Lebanon by way of being able to intercept it. And following the fall of Assad, Israel actually lost its spies. Now Israel could choose to work with Al-Sharaa here, couldn't it, to make an even better fist of that. But instead they've chosen to do the total opposite. Invade, seize ground. And so perversely, getting aid from Iran through to Lebanon has allegedly been even more successful now. Attacking the routes through the anti-Lebanon mountain range and to the villages where such Iranian gear might end up being typically delivered to is how Al-Sharaa, in my view, has taken to dealing with this matter. But it makes no difference to Israel. They want your territory, they want to control your water, they want to terrorise your people, and still you're playing nice with them. Now, one way of looking at this is that Israel have destroyed much of the militaria left in Syria following Assad's fall. Syria don't have much of a military left to fight Israel even if they wanted to. But if Syrian forces can focus on bottlenecks in the Lebanese mountains, fight them, then why not the bottleneck in the southwest of your country, because the border with Israel is actually quite tiny. At the end of the day, Lebanon are not bombing Syria, but Israel is. Lebanon is not occupying Syrian territory, but Israel is. Is your own land not worth defending? In which case, what's it going to take for you to change your mind on that? Are the people there not worth defending? That's going to go down well in future Syrian elections if they ever get held, I'm sure. Because first it was 4 years to wait for them according to Al-Sharaa, and now he's saying 5 years. But I suppose you keep needing to add on as much time as possible to turn things around for yourself when you're attacking Lebanon whilst you are literally being invaded by Israel at the same time. You stupid, stupid man. Syria's new leaders look weaker than ever, and that will only increase the more land Israel seizes. And they will keep going for as long as they think they can get away with it. Syria has no friends, alienating its neighbours with its unrequited love for Israel, its kissing of Trump's orange posterior, and writing strongly worded letters to the UN won't change anything either. Syria sits alone, and its new leader just still doesn't seem to get it. Another nation that is not standing for any Israeli or US nonsense, though, is Saudi Arabia. Upon Netanyahu's suggestion that the Saudis now take Palestinians from Gaza into their territory and make a nice little home for them there, the Saudis, who still to this day do not recognise the State of Israel, have made it clear exactly what they think of Netanyahu and that plan, and made clear the day they recognise Israel's existence will be the day Israel recognises the State of Palestine alongside them. Get all the details of that story in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe before you watch that latest Israeli fallout though, so as to not miss out on all new daily content dropping daily, as I'm sure you would hate, on this channel, and also help support said channel at the very same time, which is very much appreciated, of course. And I will hopefully therefore catch you on the next vid, in which case. Cheers folks.